Your attended when she was before the committee a few weeks ago, and I want to ask you because I think it's appropriate here. It's a broad question about policy priorities. Do you think that the big tech companies and Wall Street firms have too much influence in our government and society right now?
Yes, I agree with that, and I think the data bears out that there's too much concentration as well in our economy.
I'm glad to hear you say that. What about a company like Amazon? Do you think Amazon has too much power?
I think broadly, there's a number of large companies that have too much power and in some cases too much influence.
I'm glad to hear you say that too. I asked you about Amazon because I understand that the Greater Washington Partnership, which you led as CEO for 3 years from 2017 to 2020, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the organizations that was in the front of trying to attract Amazon to the Washington, D.C. area. Why do you think Amazon, of course, did ultimately choose the D.C. area as a place for one of its expanded headquarters? Do you think that the proximity to Congress had anything to do with that?
Well, that's correct. I was, in my role as the CEO of the Greater Washington Partnership, supportive of creating new jobs in the area. As a relatively slow growth region, despite lots of strong assets, and bringing that kind of talent into the region was a huge benefit.
I've got here a report that maybe you've seen from Mother Jones magazine. Amazon has become a prime revolving door destination in Washington. It extensively details the extent to which the company has established this revolving door by doing things like hiring 247 government officials in the last 10 years. That's on top of $20 million Amazon spent on lobbying activities just in 2020. Now, you've never been employed by Amazon, right?
Correct.
But I'd like to know, what do you think about this revolving door that Mother Jones and others have reported on in our government between these mega corporations? Do you think that's a problem? Do you think it has a negative impact on our public policy?
I haven't seen all the specifics of that report. When I left public service previously, I had the opportunity to go in the private sector and chose to help run a nonprofit on behalf of this region, and as I understand it, the Biden administration has a very strong and robust standard by which it's going to hold all of its appointees to regarding both conduct while in office as well as after.
So you do think that the revolving door, that is a problem, having a revolving door between these major corporations that you said to me a second ago you thought had too much power and government officials, that's a problem?
I think it's appropriate for the administration to take clear and consistent guidelines to its appointees so that there's trust in government.
Mr. Miller, could you pull the microphone just a little closer to your mouth, please?
Let me ask you about that trust in government. Your written testimony, you write similarly that successful delivery is built on 3 pillars, and one of those is a system for measurement and accountability, which I agree with. If you're confirmed, how will you work to ensure that companies like Amazon and others that have such incredible power and market concentration, how will you work to ensure that they don't unduly influence government policy, whether it's through the revolving door, or whether it's through lobbying or other means of influence?
Senator, thank you for the question. I think it's important that agencies are putting forward clear, in their strategic plans, clear priorities with measures associated with those. Transparency associated with, are they delivering on those measures? If not, why not? Part of what I would see as my role, if confirmed as Deputy Director for Management, is to work closely with agency leadership to put in place clear agency priorities with smart, clear metrics associated with them and hold them accountable to deliver on it.
Very good. Will you commit to us here that you'll work to ensure that, if confirmed, you'll work to ensure that OMB serves the American public first and not Amazon or Google or Wall Street Bank or any of these mega corporations?
Senator, I absolutely commit to OMB serving the American public first and foremost.
Great. Thank you for that. Ms. Young, in my time remaining, let me just ask you a couple of questions. You will be involved as Deputy Director, if you're confirmed, in decisions that surround the obligation of congressionally appropriated funds. Do you believe that religious organizations are entitled to compete on equal footing with other secular organizations for federal funding that's used to support government programs?
Senator Hawley, you know, all of these programs are guided by their own authorization, so whatever Congress has decided to authorize and pass into law, we will follow the law.
Very good. The former director of OMB issued a memorandum last year which ensured that federal agencies do not discriminate against faith-based organizations when it comes to federal grants, and in fact that they take steps to prevent states from doing so. This this is a big deal because if the federal government does everything right, some states can still discriminate against religious institutions on the basis of their faith-based nature. That would be a violation of the Free Exercise Clause. If you're confirmed, can religious institutions count on you to ensure that you will work to prevent either the federal government or states from discriminating on the basis of faith?
Senator Hawley, I think the goal of the American government for the American people is discrimination should have no place, period, in our government. So you certainly have my commitment that I will work towards that goal, which is inherent in a free democracy.
Including discrimination on the basis of faith?
I certainly believe that is one of the tenets. We do not discriminate on the basis of faith.
Very good. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Ossoff, you are recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the nominees and welcome. I'd like to ask you a question.